guess you go ahead.
The next topic I'm going to be covering today is gateway reporting. I hope that everybody is getting more and more comfortable with gateway, but I'm going to go over some topics and some questions that we are still getting related to gateway. So to be able to access gateway, you would send the help desk an email at gateway@sboa.in.gov. And in that email, you would include that you're a newly elected trustee of your township, indicate your name, and you should indicate the email address that you would like to use for gateway related notifications. The trustee will be the submitter and will be required to submit all reports in gateway. You can delegate those duties to an editor. We have a link to the delegation form. So basically you would just fill out this delegation form and submit it to the Gateway help desk, and they would get whoever you would like to approve for editor rights to be approved there. So up at the top here is the Gateway email address or web address to be able to log into Gateway. We have circled on the right hand side the login that you would click on for local officials. Once you click on the login screen, it is going to bring up an area for you to enter your username and password. I have it circled here. If you forget your password, you can click on forget password. After 5 attempts to log into the account, it will be locked. So you want to make sure you click on forget password, forgot your password prior to trying your password 5 different times. Also, in the upper right hand corner, it says Gateway works best in Firefox and Chrome. Internet Explorer is not a supported browser, so make sure when you enter Gateway that you enter through either Firefox or Google Chrome. There are 4 sections of Gateway that are going to apply to townships, and I'm going to go over each of those 4 sections. In this presentation today, it's the 100R, the AFR, the Annual Financial Report, monthly and annual engagement uploads, and the conflict of interest disclosure. These are the 4 reports that apply to townships in Gateway. The certified report of names, addresses, duties, and compensation of public employees. You hear us refer to that as Form 100R. Per IC 51113, it must be filed with the state examiner. DLGF may not approve the budget of a unit that has not filed this report. It should be filed electronically via the state Gateway site. This report is due on January 31st of each year. It must indicate whether the unit offers a health plan, a pension, and other benefits to full-time and part-time employees. Also, as part of the 100R report, you have the contracting and nepotism policies. Per IC 51113 1.1, it must indicate whether the unit has implemented a nepotism policy per IC 36122 and a contracting policy, and it's per IC 36121. Do not send copies of these policies or the 100R to SBOA. A PDF file of the nepotism and contracting policies must be uploaded into Gateway. I do want to know that both of the statutes requiring the nepotism and contracting with unit policy has nothing to do with internal control requirements. Both of these need to be adopted, and each year, each official has to certify that they've complied with these standards. The certifications do not need to be sent to us only uploaded on Gateway for the policy. You all keep the certifications on file, and we will request those at the time of audit. In the first section, we have questions for you to fill out, such as whether you upload or enter manually your records, any health benefits provided to employees, do you have a retirement plan for employees, any other employee benefits, and then we have the nepotism contracting policy uploads that only needs to be done once, and then it carries over, and then you do not have to upload those policies again until you adopt or change those policies.
All right, I think I'm gonna start kicking people on the phone.
So on the 100R entry data form, you have the ability to autofill the address, so you do not have to fill in the business address, the city, the abbreviation, and the zip code each time. You can set the default address. Question we get a lot where it says total compensation. This is the gross amount and not the net. Of course, the gross is before taxes are withheld. And this is required for all employees. We get questions on whether a person is an employee or a contractor. We refer them to the IRS publication 15. We have the position, though, that trustees and board members are employees, as they are listed on the salary resolution, Form 17C. Generally, if you control what will be done and how it will be done, they're employees, and you need to withhold taxes. If you contract with someone for mowing, cemetery care, etc., those individuals are contractors. Again, you would need to provide them a 1099 if you give them more than $600. The next report that's required to be completed through Gateway is the annual financial report. You'll hear me refer to that as the AFR. Per Indiana Code 51114, this must be filed with the state examiner. And once again, DLGF may not approve the budget of a unit until it is filed. It must be filed electronically via Gateway. It is due 60 days after the year, which will be March 1st, except leap years, that will be February 29th. I also want to state, if that date falls on a weekend, it is due that following Monday. Also, for these instances, if they are not filed, we do send out subpoenas for this information, since this is what we print out and present to you for approval as your financial statements. So this is what the AFR main menu looks like. I have this arrow here to point out that the unit questions in Gateway affect what reporting section show up. So if you answer yes to having capital assets, then the capital assets section will appear here. So if you come to this section where you don't have anything to enter, go back to the questions and review your answers. Your financial data by fund section. This is where you will have your beginning balance cash pulled forward, and then you will need to add any receipts and disbursements, and that will calculate your ending cash balance. Those ending cash balances should agree back to your ledger. One thing to note here, after each line that you complete, I recommend you save all work, and any corrections you need to make corrections to that line item before you move to the next. After you have completed your AFR, you can check for any errors. There's two types of warnings that you will get. One is called the submission errors. These may be a problem, but they will not prevent submission. However, the submission warnings, they do prevent submission, and they must be corrected prior to being able to submit your AFR. I do want to note, if you only have edit rights, you should use the review submission section on the main menu to check for submission errors and warnings. And then you can review them and correct the errors before the submitter actually tries to submit the AFR. I want to discuss the State Examiner Directive 2018-1. Chase touched on this earlier today. I've shared a link to the directive if you would like to go review that. It was released on July 30th of 2018. This directive will allow us to do as much of our audit work as possible remotely, which will result in efficiencies and reduce audit costs for you. It's our intent to use the monthly information to more effectively plan our engagements. Additionally, we require to conduct a risk assessment plan to prioritize our engagements, and we will use this information that's requested to conduct that. And finally, we hope to be able to use this information to monitor and provide better service to you. If we can identify more quickly that you might need assistance, we can provide that assistance more timely rather than waiting until it's time for the audit. The dates of submission are, these reports must be done monthly by the 15th of each month for the activity of 2 months ago. So July information will be due September the 15th. The first month this was required for townships was effective July of 2018. I have listed here the monthly upload requirements. The first item is bank reconciliations. This should consist of the bank balance per the bank statement at the end of the month. You would then add in any deposits in transit. These are receipts that were posted to the records but have not been deposited into the bank account yet. And then you would have any outstanding checks that you would deduct. Outstanding checks would be any checks that had been written by the end of the month that had not yet cleared the bank statement. And then if you have any other miscellaneous reconciling items, you would need to use those, and that would create your reconciled balance, and you should compare that, and it should agree to your ledger to ensure that your bank reconciliation is correct. Also, you should upload the approved board minutes. We've received questions from time to time. Sometimes it's delayed before the minutes get approved. We recommend uploading a draft of the board minutes, and then once the board minutes get approved, then you can upload the signed approved board minutes. Also, what else is required is a funds ledger summarizing the total receipts, disbursements, and balances by fund. We accept a picture. If you take a picture of the ledger, there's also a template on our website that you can download in Excel and enter the beginning balances, the receipts, disbursements, and the ending balance by each fund, and upload that to Gateway to satisfy the monthly funds ledger upload. There's also an annual upload section, and the requirements of it are the year-end bank statement for townships. This is going to be the December 31st bank statement, a list of all outstanding checks at the year end. So any checks that have not cleared, that were written, that have not cleared the bank by 12/31. Any investments that the township may have as of 12/31. If you have the ability to upload records, we require a detailed receipt activity, a detail of the disbursement activity, and the annual vendor history report. If you have manual records, these are not applicable for manual records. And we also require a upload of the current year salary resolution. So if you're in the 2019 annual upload requirement section, you would upload the salary ordinance for 2019. Once again, these are some upload resources. I discussed the manual records template. Here is a link to that template. You should be able to copy that into your web browser and it will pull up the template for you. You can save it to your computer and then manually enter that information into the Excel file and then upload it into Gateway and now satisfy your requirement for your funds ledger. Also, under the website section, Gateway Upload Application, we have user guides there and also some other information where you can, I've got the link there for it as well. So some frequently asked questions we receive on Gateway: approved minutes. Meetings are not held each month. Like I said, put in a draft, and then once you get the approved minutes, you can then upload those into Gateway. There is a box if you do not have board minutes 1 month that you can just select no board minutes. Direct requests. These are items when we are doing an audit. If we are requesting some additional documents, you will get a request from our field examiners to upload these documents directly. You should not be sending those through email, as it is not as secure as the direct request. Repercussions if not compliant. It may hinder the ability to have a timely audit. Audit comment may require corrective action plans. So that would cause additional work on behalf of the township if a corrective action plan has to be implemented. Court information, if there is a township court, it should be reported as part of the township's records and included in Gateway. And we get questions on contracts. Contracts should be filed under the DLGF portal in Gateway under file submission. Conflict of interest statements, they're required to be uploaded into Gateway. IC 35-44.1-1-4B says a public servant who knowingly or intentionally has a pecuniary interest in or derives a profit from a contract or purchase connected with an action by the governmental entity. Our question there is, if in doubt, file a conflict of interest, and always consult and work with your township attorney on any conflict of interest issues. There's one other section I'm going to discuss. It's the entity annual report. It's the E1. And it's covered under IC 51119. And it requires a unit to file this report if they receive any state, federal, and local grants. These would be non-governmental units like volunteer fire departments that receive public funding. If they receive any assistance, they need to file. And then basically, if a unit receives $750,000 in these state, federal, or local grants, and 50% of their total disbursements are from public funds, then they are required to have an audit. That is an increase from the old threshold of $200,000. So once again, reporting is required in Gateway, even if the threshold is not met. The township's responsibility for these E1 reports: for any non-governmental entity you provide money to, provide our contact information, an email to our not-for-profit division. It's not-for-profit@sboa.in.gov, and also provide them a link to our website and inform them of the E1 reporting requirement. So basically, probably the biggest unit for townships would be the volunteer fire departments. There might be some other non-governmental units that townships provide funds to, but the most likely is going to be volunteer fire departments.
We have a question right on that. She said, is that including if they take away from their accumulation fund for a fire department? the E1?
I think it's any funds that the township provides.
That's what I would say.
Any funds that the township provides to a volunteer fire department, the volunteer fire department would be required to file this E1 report.
Right.
So I'm just gonna go over some helpful hints that a lot of times some of these items that came from trustees that are actually using Gateway. Some came from our Gateway help desk. So I'm just gonna briefly go over some of these. Click the Save All Work button to save changes. Like I said, I recommend after each line item, just clicking the Save button as frequently as possible. Make sure you use the most recent versions of Chrome or Firefox. Internet Explorer is not supported by the browser in Gateway. Don't forget to submit. Just because you've entered all of the information, your form is not filed until you've actually submitted. Use the user guides. I've included a link where you can go, and depending on what report you're doing, we have a user guide for each report that's required to be filed. Make sure you scroll to the right to see all cells in Gateway. All the cells don't always show, so make sure that you scroll to look and make sure all cells have been completed. And you're not required to send a copy of the AFR or the proof of publication to us. Tab or click in a cell to go to the next cell in a row. I don't think enter always works well. Like I had said earlier, enter one row at a time. Press the enter key when you are finished entering a whole row. Correct any errors on that row before starting the next row. Make sure that you have something entered in all cells that are marked required, or the row will not be saved, and also you will get a submission warning when you go to try to submit. Do not use any double quotes in a cell, as that kind of provides for a formula and that doesn't work. You do not enter a $ or commas in the total compensation cell in the 100R. And you do have the ability to sort rows within the grid by clicking on the heading. So a lot of times that makes it easier for you to find a certain fund if you need to do that. So you can click on the grid and it'll help you sort them. So that is what I have on Gateway. Were there any other questions related to Gateway that we need to answer, Chase?
I've been answering the Q&A. Let's check the chat.
Okay.
What if the fire department is going district? Do I still include the compensation for 2020? I think you're talking about E1 reports. Yes, so we answered that. All money you give the fire departments should be listed, but they're the ones actually doing that report. But you're part of Gateway where you indicate who you gave money to, just put the dollar amount, and that's all you have to do. Okay, it looks like most of the questions are answered. If we missed somebody's, please let us know at the end. I don't hear any audio from that rogue person, so that's great. I'm sorry about that. We didn't account for